Good evening. My name is Elliot Cafferly, and I will be presenting about selenium. So, what is selenium? First off, we're going. Selenium is the 34th element on the periodic table. It has the symbol of Se, and it has many uses, including uh, pigments for ceramics and paints and plasters. But as we know, this is a software engineering class, and that would be silly for us. So, Selenium is a tool that is used to automate tasks primarily for web development. As soon as you go onto the home page, the first thing it says is Selenium automates browsers. That's it. It's kind of what it does. It might have some secondary cases with the web drivers. We'll get into that, but primarily it is just for automation of browsers. It says, it automates the boring web tasks that administrate web-based administration tasks, uh, and those can be automated through Selenium. So how does Selenium work? So the first way we'll look at is through a web driver. Selenium works in a couple different ways. Uh, with WebDriver, a WebDriver is an API that defines a language natural interface for controlling the behavior of web browsers. They're used to instruct the behavior of web browsers. The WebDriver is designed to be a simple and more concise programming interface. It is a compact, object-oriented API, and it drives browsers effectively. It can be coded in Java, Python, C Sharp, Ruby, JavaScript, or Kotlin. These programming languages were just the few that I saw in the documentation going over the basics of Selenium through the use of a WebDriver or you know, the coding can be done in any IDE. I was using VS Code for the little bit I was trying to get with it. Next, Selenium has its own IDE that you can write tasks designed for web browsers. So later we'll go over some of the functionalities and the interface of the IDE. The IDE is an extension on your web browser that you can get. It's super easy to download. All you have to do is go to your web browser's web store and look up Selenium and then just click download. And then once you have it, you can just click on your extensions bar and then the IDE shows up. So the IDE has a clean look to it, and it gives a clear way of keeping track of created tasks and projects. The IDE comes with flow control structure with commands like if, while, and times, and we'll see some of that in the example. The last one is Selenium. It also has a solution for running tests on parallel across multiple machines. This is called a Selenium Grid. Uh, it's a ground up rewrite of the other versions made for grid purposes, but I won't be going into too much depth of the grid component of Selenium today. Next, we'll be looking at the IDE itself. On the right side, you can see the IDE. This is pretty much what shows up. Um, Not the input I put, but it's just what shows up with the newly created project. It's blank except for the feeling lucky task I tried to create. So if we look at the top, we can see we can create new projects, save some, uh, and then to the left under projects we have executing. You can look at your different projects, ones that are executing at the moment, and ones and all of them if you want to look at that. Then underneath we can see my feeling lucky uh, task I try to create. It was intended to have a command at google.com to click at the feeling lucky button. Um, at the bottom, at the log, we can see that it started running the feeling lucky command. or the task, and it tried to find the CSS button that I clicked on. It's pretty easy to get a target and use a command uh, with Selenium IDE. All you have to do is where it says target, to the right there, there's the two buttons, the hourglass and the pointer clicker with the box. You click the clicker with the box, it'll bring up your web browser and have you click on an element you want to click. So all I did was click that button and it brought up the Google. And then I clicked on the feeling lucky button, but for some reason it couldn't find it. I couldn't quite uh, get to understanding why it didn't, but it was pretty simple to set up. Uh, Next, we'll be going over the advantages to automation. So we've talked about Selenium and that it does automation, but like, what does that do for me? So first off, you're able to complete repetitive tasks faster and with more accuracy. So when you have a task that it's just clicking a bunch of buttons, the first time it goes super well, you're like, oh, this is easy. But by the 10th time you're doing it, you might stop paying attention as closely. And the 100th time you're doing it, there's no chance that, you're running at 100% efficiencies. But with automation, you just set it to do this task and it won't get bored of it, like a human would. And that's kind of what the accuracy part goes into with automation. It doesn't, get less accurate over time, like we tend to do with repetitive tasks. Next, you save time and you increase your productivity. So it does it faster than we could anyway. So uh, there's one part of you saving time. And if you have to do this, probably if you have to do this every day, you come in to your shift and you have to run these certain tests to make sure everything's running fine. Maybe it takes like 30 minutes to do it by hand, maybe an hour. But if you create the tasks, maybe writing the task takes a couple hours, maybe. But the next time you come in, it'll take 5 minutes to do it. That's the saving time aspect of it, and you increase your productivity by, that 55 minutes you just saved. You can work on other projects, you can get ahead on other stuff. So it, automation really saves you time and increases your productivity in that manner. On the business side, it will increase resources available. So if you have, a group of IT professionals and they spend an hour of their day running these tests, these same tests and over every day. Uh, you can save them a lot of trouble and you a lot of trouble by having it automated and then have those have them work on something, you know, that only humans can do. Uh, and next is overcoming complexity. So sometimes when I have a repetitive task that I have to do over and over again, it's not necessarily that it's complex, but getting it right every single time can kind of get tricky sometimes. So this is where the overcoming complexity uh, factor comes in. Uh, just doing it once, making sure it's good, and then it'll run perfectly every single time. That's kind of why automation is the way to go with these kind of tasks and repetitive things. And Selenium does that for web-based solutions. In conclusion, Selenium is a free solution to automating specifically web-based tasks. And from what I've seen, I could probably take a day and, learn a bunch about Selenium. There's probably 100 different commands just on the IDE. Um, just on the Selenium IDE itself. So there could, there's so many possibilities you could do with Selenium when it comes to automating. Here are the sources I use. I found Selenium their website, and they have extensive documentation over their IDE and other sources. Thank you.